Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and these are two of the most popular compact crossovers, which are both a brand new generation for 2025. This is the Chevy Equinox. It's in its fourth generation. The very first one came out 20 years ago in 2005, and then this over here is the Forester. It's actually now in its sixth generation. It came out about 8 years earlier in 1997, so both of these, they have a pretty proven record. They have pretty similar price tags, and in fact, they actually have a lot in common. They're basically the same dimensions, around 15 feet long, 6 feet wide, 5.5 feet tall. They both weigh around 33 to 3,600 pounds. They both have over 30 cubic feet of storage capacity behind the second row, while having roughly the same power levels. But are they the same vehicle? No, they actually do things quite differently. The price difference is about $1,500 between these two examples, which were probably about as close as I could get them to compare because they are by different brands. And we have to say thank you, Twin Falls Chevy, and thank you, Twin Falls Subaru, for letting me borrow these vehicles for the day. I'm going to link them below if you guys are interested. But otherwise, there's probably just as many differences as there are similarities. So there's a lot that we need to get into today in this comparison video. And if you guys like anything you see today, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And with that said, let's get right into this comparison side-by-side review. But I think we need to talk about a few of the differences between these vehicles before we really dive through them, which I'll show you everything from under the hood to the cargo capacity, through the back seats, the front seats, and then we'll wrap the video up with my final thoughts. But let's first talk about the Chevy Equinox. This one specifically is an LT. They start at about $30,000. There's only 3 trim levels currently offered for 2025. So this one is actually basically as base bare bones as it gets. It's an LT that actually has front wheel drive and a CVT. It also has a 1.5-liter turbo engine, so a small little power plant. But what it does have is a lot of safety features, a lot of creature comforts. In fact, you're gonna see as we go through the interior, between the leather seats, the digital rear view mirror, the 360-degree camera, these nice 17-inch wheels, the roof rails, the aggressive front fascia, it actually has a lot to offer. But I would say there's less functional capability from this crossover, especially in the front-wheel drive variation of it, compared to what the Forester offers. It does still have about 8 inches of ground clearance and a very aggressive over a 5 final drive ratio. So it puts the power down pretty well. And in fact, it's actually a little bit quicker than the Forester. Today's testing, it did a 0 to 60 in the mid-8s. If I were to take the Forester out, I've done dozens of those. This one probably would have ran about a 9.5 second 0 to 60. So it does win on paper in some areas. It loses on paper in a few other areas. But this is more of your wintry climate capable vehicle. It should be a 5-star crash test rated vehicle like the last generation. It may or may not be a top safety pick like the Forester, but it looks good, has LED headlights, blind spot monitoring, and a lot of other adaptive safety features to protect you and your family. And then this is the Forester, first year of this new generation as well. This is ice silver metallic, while the Chevy was in sterling gray metallic. Both of these, very nice colors. I thought they were about as comparable as I could get for today's video. It also has 17-inch wheels, but it has 8.7 inches of ground clearance, a 370 final drive ratio, so not quite as aggressive as the front-wheel drive Chevy, but it has quite a few other capabilities, such as Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive, which is one of the best all-wheel drive systems of any manufacturer. So the all-wheel drive system on this is better than the all-wheel drive system on that, which can engage and disengage. This also has roof rails, just like the Chevy, a shark fin antenna, but it has better visibility. It has a larger gas tank. The Forester has a 16.6 gallon tank compared to the Chevy's 14.9, so about a 1.7 gallon difference. But you know what's interesting? While this has a bigger, you'd think thirstier 2.5-liter engine, it actually gets better MPG, around 26 or 27 city and around 33 on the highway, compared to the Chevy with its, fuel efficient, you would assume 1.5 liter. It only gets 26 city, 28 on the highway. And that's for the front wheel drive version. So there are similarities, there are differences, and there's more than meets the eye on these. You will notice that the Forester has the Gen 4 eyesight system, so it has 3 cameras compared to the one on the Chevy. So it's going to be a little bit more tailored towards safety and off-road capability, whereas the Equinox is more on-road capable, and quite frankly, the Equinox looks better. But the Forester is kind of a timeless design. It's not as aggressive, it's not as robust looking, in that it's hopefully going to age maybe better. I don't know, I guess we'll see what this looks like when there's 500,000 Chevys like this on the road. But one thing that we do need to mention is, at least for the 2025 model year, This Forester is assembled in Japan, where vehicles are thought to be assembled the best, whereas the Equinox is actually assembled in Mexico and then shipped overseas to the United States. But regardless, historically, the Equinox sells better than the Forester. These sometimes sell over 300,000 units in a single year, whereas the Foresters never really top out at more than about 150,000 units in the North American market. And then both of these, as you'll notice, they have a prop rod. I do think the hood on the Chevy is maybe a little bit heavier, but the hood on the Forester maybe opens a little bit taller, so should fit fairly well in your garage. More of the hatch is where you need to pay attention to that. But check out the 2.5-liter boxer engine. This has a CVT, and because that Equinox is front-wheel drive, it actually also has a CVT, which in driving it around, they both feel pretty darn good. We know that Subaru has basically perfected their CVT at this point, and it seems to be as reliable as any other transmission. But this is the boxer engine. It's a 2.5-liter, very refined platform. Boxers have been around for decades, and Subaru just keeps making them better, more reliable, and easier to work on. So you have induction through the grille, the air filter in the box, a little bit of baffling, the throttle body, the intake runners. The block is split right down the middle. Sorry about the shadow from me, guys. It's just early in the morning. But you have a dipstick, oil filter, you have the alternator, the AC compressor, serpentine belt right here because it's basically a rear-wheel drive setup, very power focused to the rear, about 50-50. And then you have all of your reservoirs, your fuse box, your battery, everything else on the driver's side. So it's easy to work on. There's actually a lot of room under the hood. You can easily see the CVT down there even. So most of the block is down low, meaning all the accessories and everything you typically would have to work on are up high. Makes about 180 horsepower and about 178 foot-pound-feet of torque. Whereas this is the Equinox with the 1.5-liter. Some of these Ecotec engines have the turbo on the front where the exhaust manifold is. Sometimes they're on the back like the Trailblazer. This one happens to be on the front. It looks a little bit tighter under the hood. Check out how much more narrow the width of the hood is compared to this Forester. It almost looks at least 50% wider. And although a lot of the components are easy to identify, you have induction and then it goes through the Spinny Boy turbo, comes around that intake pipe, so the throttle body and the intake manifold on the back. It makes about 175 horsepower, so only a few less than the Forester, and that's at 5,600 RPM. And then it makes, on this front-wheel drive one, from what I see online, 184 torque. So more torque than that one. But if you have the all-drive setup, it can actually do 203 pound-feet of torque, and then it has an 8-speed automatic. So I'm assuming that the CVT is the limiting factor for why this doesn't have as much torque as the all-drive configuration. Also, the vehicle just turned off, so maybe it shuts off after about 10 minutes of running, assuming nothing is wrong with it right now. That must just be a pre-programmed setting. Otherwise, you have the battery, the fuse box, most of your reservoirs right there, oil dipstick. The filter is going to be down below, harder to get to, but overall, it shouldn't be too difficult to work on either of these vehicles. And I turned both of these vehicles off so that I can show you which one opens faster with the hatch, and we'll talk about that next. But one thing that I don't like, that I was going to try to wait until we got into the interior of the Chevy, is you have to turn on and off the lights through the screen. There's not like a lighting stalk. And then because I had the headlights and everything turned on, even with it beeping, even with it locked, the lights don't seem to turn off. I'd hoped that they'd turn off after a minute, but I've been away from the vehicle longer than that before, and it just didn't seem like they did. So let's quickly go through here, and I'll just show you this now instead of later. Off. Off. Good. All right. Kind of frustrating, but that is what it is, and I'm showing you guys this in real time to share my frustration versus just turning a dial on a, on a stock. Otherwise, trust me that I'm pushing these hatch open buttons at the same time in 3, 2, 1. All right, the Chevy responded first, and they finished at the same time. So we'll start with the Chevy. Back here, you have 30 cubic feet of room, and then some hidden storage down here. You have LED lighting on both sides, but you don't really have many other additions, handles to drop the seats, bag clips. You do have one tie down on each side. And when you do drop the seats, you have 66 cubic feet of room. So overall, it's actually pretty nice back here, especially where there's not a lot of depth before you get to the load floor. And I really like this hidden storage compartment down here. But on the Subaru, you have 33-ish cubic feet of room back here. And then when you drop the seats, you actually have closer to 72, 73. So you have a little bit more storage in the Forester overall from the second row, but you do have some bag clips, but you don't have any LED lighting right there. You do have one right there, but not where it might be more useful on the side. And then you have some extra plugins down there and a little bit of storage behind the wheel well. You have a steel spare tire on each of these, so you do have a little bit of storage on the Forester. but it's not as much hidden storage as on the Equinox. And with that said, let me get those remotes back out of my pocket. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this. And let's see which one lowers faster in 3, 2, 1. Oop. The Chevy didn't want to engage. It's a double push, and then if you hold it, it messes it up. And I have a tendency to hold the button, so that was probably on me, but they seem to be fairly similar in sound. Neither of them are very loud, and they both close pretty quick. This LT Equinox also has remote start from the key, which is pretty cool. This Forester does not. If you want a remote start, it's a separate key fob, which is very annoying. But what is nice is you can pay for the My Subaru app and get remote start, access to all of your locks and everything from you just using your phone from anywhere in the world if you have a connection to it. But otherwise, proximity key features to lock and unlock. You have a physical key, just like the Equinox, because they both have a key hidden inside of their remote. The door panel on this Premium, it's black. Materials that are pretty soft. Door card is kind of like a cloth. It's gonna age well, hold up well, but I don't love the dark interiors, but I grabbed a dark interior Forester to match the dark interior of the Equinox. You have power seats, they are heated. You have the huge panoramic sunroof on all Foresters that are not a base model. And then you have the hood release. The knee airbag is defined right there. Fuse box, you have some options right there, all weather mats. And if we sit inside of it and fire this puppy up, the needles dance. Steering responsive headlights on the front do a little bit of a theatrical display. And you have a tilt telescoping leather wrapped non-heated wheel. You have voice and volume on the left, adaptive cruise settings on the right, sport and intelligent mode. There's your lighting stock, which I think every vehicle still needs to have. If you go through the info display, you have a few bits of information, and then this is the 11.6-inch screen. I don't know which of these screens I dislike more. A lot of controls are through here, all of your HVAC. It's a physical display within the screen, as in it doesn't, like the software doesn't move and change around too much. But still, why don't we just have a physical line of bars like the Equinox and some other automakers? Too many people have been moving towards these giant screens, and when they're slow, when they freeze up, when they, malfunction, I don't like that. Otherwise, visibility is huge. Windows are ginormous. The hood slopes down. The rear view mirror goes right through the 15-foot display, and you can see there's a lot of room in here, as well as this huge panoramic sunroof. I do recommend you tint that like we did on our own Subaru Forester, because it does get very hot. Otherwise, you have plugins, wireless charger. The backup camera, it's not the best on this one. Small and grainy. Electronic parking brake, 12-volt cup holders. Old school CD tray, which we don't have a CD player on this one. And then you have a center console in there with no plugins or anything. And you can see again that this one is currently about $34,000. I guess it's discounted a little bit over $1,000 right there. And then you have compass, home link settings, auto dimming mirrors. That's the compass right there. And the sunglass holder, LED lighting. This does not slide off, but it does have an extension. And then, yep, LED lighting right there. So with that said, let's hop into the Equinox. Sterling gray metallic on this car seriously looks so good. I love that on a lot of the Chevys. But again, dark gray and black door card. And everything else, Chevy plastic. Of course, piano black has to be somewhere. You have the hatch release button, the snack pocket, the speaker, power heated seat on this. The heated seats on this are actually better than on the Subarus. Bolstering is okay. Neither one is going to hold you in place if you take a corner too fast. So don't take a corner too fast. All of their mats not yet installed, rubberized pedal, everything. I'm not seeing a knee bag, but I would hope that this does have a knee airbag. You have some options right there. Ventilation almost looks like the Camaro, but it doesn't rotate like one. And then there's your windshield stock, not a lighting stock. So if we hop inside of this one and we fire it right up, you'll notice this huge display. Also, you have a basic heads-up display that just flashes different lights at you right there, which is pretty cool. And then you have a lot of reflection, a lot of glare on the screen. You can go through cruise control settings on the left. Paddle shifters for the CVT. It is a heated leather-wrapped wheel, and this wheel gets really hot, really nice and warm. It's letting us know that we have some air pressure concerns, and then you can go through the different screens and settings with this button right here, and you actually have access to some pretty cool stuff. This screen looks super complex, super fancy, and it's probably more so than the Subaru. But again, some of these settings, I just don't like how much is controlled by the screen. Thankfully, you have physical HVAC controls there. You have some USB and C style plugins, huge storage, wireless charging, more storage, cup holder storage, and just like the Equinox EV that I drove, you have more storage down there, which is pretty cool. Or at least on this all-wheel drive version. And then you have storage right here with a lifty tray. Center console in this is actually probably bigger, more cubic inches than what you have on the Forester, but I don't like those little lifty trays. They don't really seat very well. They could have been designed better. And then you have a digital display right there. You have sunglass holder. You have LED lighting, so that's cool. And then this actually does slide. What do we have for lighting? We have less impressive incandescent right there. Cool gauges right there. Overall, they're both nice places to be. Visibility is not as good in this one as it is in the Forester. The windows are just bigger and better, but the hood also slopes down, so you do have good forward-facing visibility, if you guys can see all that. And through the back, through the side mirrors, everything just is pretty nice in here. So with that said, let's hop into the back of the Subaru. The back of the Subarus, especially the Foresters and the Outback, that's really where this platform shines. Door panel, not really worth talking about. There's nothing new back there, but this is the bench seat. And every trim level but the base can actually recline, something that the Chevy cannot do. You can also lower it down, and it's a much lighter seat than that. Also, it lays probably about as flat as the Equinox. I don't know that there's a defined winner there, but if we sit behind ourselves in the driver's seat position, I have at least as much knee room. I have the double mat pocket, the phone or the pamphlet holder, depending on your generation. I have ventilation, lighting stock, but no heated seats on this Premium, because a Premium is only the second of about 5 trim levels of the Forester currently offered right now. But overall, nice place to be. Again, huge panoramic sunroof and good headroom on both of these vehicles. This is LED lighting as well, which is something I'm grateful for. With that said, let's hop into the back of the Chevy. All right, the back door panel, just like the front, same design language, same colors and materials. And then this is the bench seat. It's also a really comfortable, basically leather wrapped or synthetic looking leather seat, but it doesn't recline. It is heavier and it doesn't lift as high or as easily if you have a little bit less strength as the Forester. You have cloth floor mats on this one. Really good room in front of my knees. Maybe not quite as much as the Forester, but it's negligible. I have more than enough room either way. Mat pocket, ventilation, which they're small, but they're fierce, they're mighty. They really blow a lot of air. And then USBs right there, Type-C. Anyways, armrest, cup holders, good headroom, just like the Forester. Windows a little bit smaller. Again, very dark. Headliner materials. We don't have nearly as much sunlight come in as you do, especially when the panoramic sunroof is open. But we do have nice LED lights if you're maybe reading a book. And overall, it's a pretty nice place to be. Anyways, guys, those are my thoughts. Those are my impressions. And that is my quick side-by-side comparison review of the all-new 4th generation Chevy Equinox and the 6th generation of the Subaru Forester. I actually own a Forester, my wife and I do. We really like it a lot. We like what Subarus offer. But I've also had a Chevy in the past, and I like Chevy. I think they do a good job. In this trim level for $33,000 and $34,000, you're really getting a lot of value. They're both safe vehicles, although I do think that the Forester, I would bet my money on that being safer and more off-road capable. But it's hands down, I think the Chevy might look better. It's at least a little bit more angular, a little bit more aggressive looking. The wheels, while being the same 17-inch size, they just maybe look a little bit better. At least they do in today's opinion of it. I guess that could change depending on if there's 300,000 of these on the road, everyone has the exact same setup. Maybe then it'll start to look bland, but right now I think it looks pretty aggressive. They both have roof rails, 30 cubic feet of storage. They both do a lot of things well, but you are paying for more creature comforts, more high-end features, more technology that you're hoping will be long-term reliable, as well as the powertrain. The 1.5 turbos, they do seem to be pretty good, but that is a harder working engine. It is a little bit quicker in a side-by-side comparison test with what I assume the Forester does today at about the same 4,500 feet of altitude. So they do offer a lot. I don't think you guys can go wrong either way. There's dealerships to service these all over the country. And remember, I'm just a random person with a camera making a YouTube video side-by-side comparison today. So your opinions are what ultimately matter. Go out and test drive these, but also test drive the competition, the Rav4, the CR-V, the CX-5, and the CX-50, and anything else that you might be interested in. And with that said, if you guys got anything out of this video, please consider liking this video. I really appreciate that. It helps me know you want to watch more stuff like this. It also helps the video get shared so more people can see it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want a good deal on a really cool vehicle, check out the Twin Falls Chevy or the Twin Falls Subaru. They are good dealerships. Reference this video and they'll try to hook you up. And with that said, I wish you guys the best. Hope you take care. Until next time, see ya.